Good day, everyone. So, today we shall be continuing on our topic, woodwork tools. And today we shall be looking at the holding devices, cutting devices, as well as the pairing tools. Okay, for modern woodworkers. All right. So, let's dive into this. Firstly, as a modern woodworker, the first thing you will need in your workshop is your workbench. The workbench is the foundation of all woodwork. If you don't have your workbench, you might be finding it difficult to work with your tools because on this workbench you have all your tools kept. Okay, on it you have a space, a central space that is lower than every other side. This is the workbench here. Look at this space here. Within this space contains all the tools during operation. So you don't have to put all your tools on the floor or other places. Your workbench allows you to keep all your tools at this well, or call it well, the central well where you keep all your tools. And it's usually lower than the other side, if you see here. Okay? To prevent the tools from falling. So it has to be towards lower. Alright, so you need your workbench, first of all, as a wood worker. And then the first device you will put on your workbench is known as the holding devices. Okay, and today we'll be looking at three of them. We have the bench vise, the hand vise, and the machine vise. The bench vise is used for clamping work, okay, for also bending, for tapping, and for cutting. Okay, so what you do is that whenever you want to cut, whenever you want to bend, you will use the bench vise to hold down that object, and then you can now easily cut it here. So you put the object to be cut or bent, okay, at the jaw of the bench vise, and then you clamp it, and then it can now be used. We also have the hand vise. It's used for holding work during drilling and riveting. Is it here? If you want to hold your object that you want to drill, use your hand vise to hold it, and then you can now drill it, or you can use it to carry out your riveting task. Then we have the machine vise. This vise is fixed to machine tools table for precision work. Usually it is connected to a machine for any particular work you want to do. So it can help you to hold any object, okay, on the table. Okay. So those are the holding devices that we have: the bench vise, the hand vise, and the machine vise. Okay. So the bench vise is connected to the bench to hold object. The hand vise is held in the hand to hold object. The machine vise is connected to machine to hold object, and that's why they are known as the holding devices. So I will say that, how do you care for your devices, your holding devices? Number one, you have to keep them clean. Okay, you remove dust and debris regularly, so you don't allow dust to accumulate on your vices, because when they accumulate dust, they can easily get damaged. So aside that, you also need to oil your your vices. You lubricate the screws regularly so that the operation will be smooth. We don't lubricate sometimes when you try to use it, it will not move smoothly. Okay, because these are mechanical devices. Okay, so another thing you need to do to maintain your devices is you enforce only. You only enforce. You don't ever use hammer or over tighten the device. Okay, never use hammer or over tighten the device. If you have anything to lose it, use your hand to lose or to tight. Okay, and lastly, protect your device. Don't use it as an anvil for striking work. Okay, so don't use your device for other work. Don't abuse the device. Don't use, for example, your hand vise for as armor, okay, or for cutting. So don't abuse it. You protect the device so that it can last longer. All right, let's talk about additional holding device. We also have what we call the bench stop. This is the diagram of the bench stop here. The bench stop is also used for holding objects. It prevents wood from slipping during landing operation. You also use it to hold an object, okay, on the bench, on the wood, uh, on the bench, on the wood bench, so that your object does not slip off. Okay. Then we also have the bench hook. So this hold your job during cutting, chiseling, while protecting bench surface. You see it here. So it helps you to hold whatever you are doing, okay, so that it does not fall off. Maybe you are cutting or you are chiseling. It helps you to hold it tight so that it does not fall off. So aside from the holding devices, we also have what we call the clamps. Okay, we have what we call the clamps. Now the clamps are also type of holding device. Okay, and they come in different shape. We have the G clamp. You see it here. So this G clamp, okay, is in form of a letter G. So the object is in between it here, and it's ideal for small wood pieces. If you want to hold this very small wood, you can use your G clamp to hold it. So aside from the G clamp, you also have the F clamp also. It's similar to the G clamp, but the shape is in form of F, as you can see here. It's also used for holding objects. All right. And then we also have the search clamp. These are all still holding devices, but they come in form of clamp because they have the upper and the lower jaw. Okay. Now the side clamp is larger clamp for holding and drawing wood tightly during assembly and gluing. So it also does the same work that G clamp does and the F clamp, but is for larger objects. Okay, unlike for G clamp that is for holding smaller wood. Okay, so these are the holding devices that that we have. All right. Now let's talk about cutting tools. The first one we're going to look at is known as the saws. The saws is in form of two types. We have the cuff cutting saws. Okay, the cuff cutting saws are used for cutting cuff lines and integrate pattern in wood. So if you want to get a cuff line, you want to cut in a way that you get a cuff cutting, then you use any of these cuff cutting saw, and they are the coping saw. The coping saw is a type of cuff cutting saw, but it is used to cut cuffs, adjust and it has adjustable blade for any direction. Okay? It is adjustable and is used for cutting um, any cuffs of your choice. Another type of cutting saw, cuff cutting saw, is the fret saw. All right. So this fret saw also help you to cut cuffs, but in this case in thin wood. The wood whose width is lesser than or equal to 8 millimeters, and plywood. So any wood that is very thin, then you can use the fret saw for it. Okay, so that's what it does. So most of these cuff cutting saw are in this shape, right? We also have the bow saw. The bow saw is used for cutting cuffs in thicker wood that are 50 millimeters upward, unlike the fresh saw that are used for cutting cuffs in thin wood of thickness 8 millimeter below. All right. So aside from the fresh saw and the bow saw, you can see that the fresh saw is opposite of the bow saw because this one cut a thicker wood, while this one cut a thin wood. We have the compass saw. The compass saw cut large interior curves. Okay, if you want to get the large interior curves, you will make use of your compass saw. And lastly, we have the keyhole curve cutting saw. So this is used for cutting internal curves where the bow saw cannot reach. So where this cannot reach, you make use of the key hole saw. But they all have this shape, but in different design. So these are the types of curve cutting saw that we have under cutting tools. We've talked about the holding devices. So aside that, let's talk about the other type of cutting saw, and this is called the straight cutting saws. These saws are designed for cutting along grain, across grain, and precision joinery work. So if you're not cutting curves, you just want to cut it straight, you want to cut straightly, you make use of any of these straight cutting saw. An example of this straight cutting saw are these. We have the rip saw. The rip saw is used to cut along the grain of wood, okay, in a straight line. Then we also have the cross cut saw. It's also used to cut across the grain, okay. So rip saw, cross cut saw, we do similar work because they are all straight cutting saw. We have the tenon saw. The tenon saw cut shoulders and recesses in boards, okay, but it will still give you a straight cut. Okay, so if you want to cut shoulders or you want to cut recesses in boards, so you make the tenon saw. We also have the called the dovetail saw. This is shorter than a tenon saw and it cut fine joint and light work. Okay, that's what it does. And lastly, we have the panel saw. The panel saw is used for cutting thin timbers across the wood. Any of these straight cutting saw have this shape. Okay, they have this shape, and but in different design. So we've been able to see that we have the curve cutting saw and the straight cutting saw with their different types. All right. So I will say that let's consider another tool called the bench plane. The bench plane tool is used for smoothing and dressing. So plane produce smooth surface. If you want to get smooth surface, okay, make use of your plane. This is the typical diagram of a plane. Maybe peradventure you have seen the carpenter shop where it's being used for smoothing surfaces. It's also used for correcting size. Maybe you wanted to get the size of 8 millimeter thickness, and then you happen to have 10. You can use this plane to get that size. And it is also used for preparing wood to prepare wood for assembling. So these are the three work that the bench plane does: for smoothing, for correcting size, and for preparing wood for assembling. So let us look at some of the type of the bench plane we have. The first one is known as a jack plane. The jack plane is used for smoothing surfaces, and it's also used for removing marks from timber. There are some timbers that have marks around them. So by the time you bring up this jack plane, you use it to smoothen it and it will clean off those marks. All right. Then the second type of bench plane is known as a trying plane. The trying plane help in producing flat surfaces and perfectly straight edges. So if you want straight edges of a timber or wood, right, you make it of a trying plane. And last one, we have the smoothing plane. The smoothing plane is used to clear surfaces and edges, preparing for assembly. All right. So, but in summary, bench plane in general are used for smoothing surfaces, correcting sizes, and preparing wood for assembly. Right. Aside from this plane, we also have some specialized plane, and they are known as the block plane and the spoke shape. See the block plane here and it is spoke shape. The block plane is used for small work and hard to reach area with precision. So there are some areas that you may not be able to reach and you want to smoothen that surface, then you make it as a block plane. Then the spoke shape is curve cutting plane that help to produce smooth curved surface, okay, and edges. So this spoke shape help you in giving a curved smoothing surface and also edges. Right. So these are the types of bench plane that we would like to talk about. And all of these devices that we have learned today, from owning devices to cutting devices and to pairing devices, it is essential that you properly select the correct device for the work you want to use. Okay, safety is very key, and quality craftsmanship. Each tool serves a purpose in the woodworking process, and abuse of these wood tools are not encouraged. So you use them correctly, you use them properly, and you use them safely. Okay, so we have been able to learn the holding devices, the cutting devices, and the pairing or the smoothing uh, devices. All right, I hope you have learned something today. We shall be drawing the curtain here today. Till we meet again. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.